My name is Elena. I am 29 years old. I live in a small town with quiet streets and old houses. I work in a flower shop. I love flowers. They are soft, colorful, and kind, the opposite of how my life feels. I met Adam when I was 23. He was 5 years older than me. He had a nice smile and spoke with confidence. He said I was beautiful. No one ever said that to me before. I remember feeling warm inside when he looked at me. He brought me coffee at work. He waited outside the shop after I closed. He asked if I needed help walking home. He said, "A girl like you should not walk alone." At first it felt sweet, like something from a movie. He said he cared. He wanted to protect me. I thought, this must be love. He started calling me every night. If I missed his call, he would ask, "Why didn't you answer? Were you with someone?" I laughed the first time, but he didn't. He looked serious. I said, "I was just taking a shower." He said, "Next time, tell me first." I didn't think it was strange. I thought it meant he loved me. We started dating. He came to the flower shop every day. My boss liked him at first, but later she asked, "Why is your boyfriend always here?" I smiled and said, "He just cares about me." But I felt a small worry inside. I pushed it away. After 3 months, he asked me to move in with him. I said yes. He said, "Now I can keep you safe always." He brought me into his world, but slowly my world started to disappear. I stopped going out with my friends. He said they didn't care about me. He said they laughed behind my back. When I cried about it, he held me and said, "It's okay. You have me. I'm all you need." I believed him. When I wore a dress he didn't like, he said, "That makes you look cheap." I stopped wearing it. When I laughed too loud at a joke, he said, "You sound silly." So I laughed quietly. When I wanted to visit my mother, he said, "She never supported you. Why waste time?" I stayed home. I thought love was supposed to feel safe. But this didn't feel safe. It felt like walking on glass. Sometimes he bought me gifts, a soft sweater, a new book. He'd say, "I do this because I care." He said, "No one will ever love you like I do." I believed him. I didn't know that real love doesn't make you feel small. One day at work, my old friend Mia visited. She smiled and hugged me. She looked different, happier, stronger. She said, "You look tired, Elena. Are you okay?" I said yes, but I wasn't. Adam walked in a few minutes later. His face changed when he saw her. He didn't smile. He looked at me and said, "Who is she?" I said, "Just a friend from school." He didn't say anything until we got home. That night he yelled, "Don't lie to me. I saw how you looked at her. You miss your old life, don't you?" I tried to explain. I said, "She's just a friend. I didn't do anything wrong." But he didn't believe me. He didn't speak to me for 2 days. I cried in the bathroom and whispered to myself, "Why does this hurt if it's love?" After that, I tried harder to make him happy. I woke up early to cook his favorite breakfast. I texted him every hour to say where I was. I laughed less. I spoke softly. I thought, if I just try more, he will be kind again. But kindness should not be something you earn. It should be something freely given. One night we had dinner with his cousin. She was funny and kind. She asked about my work. I started to smile and talk. Adam put his hand on my knee under the table. It was not soft. It was tight. Controlling. After dinner, he said, "You embarrassed me. Don't talk too much next time." I felt my cheeks burn. I didn't say anything. That night, I stared at the ceiling in bed. I remembered how I used to talk freely, how I used to laugh without fear. I missed that girl, the one who wore bright colors, the one who danced alone in her room, the one who loved books and quiet tea shops. I didn't know where she went. Adam said he loved me. He said everything he did was for me. "I'm just trying to help you," he always said. "If I didn't care, I wouldn't correct you." But love should not feel like correction. It should feel like peace. One rainy afternoon, I was cleaning the closet. I found an old photo of me with my mother. We were smiling. My eyes were full of light. I touched the picture and felt something in my chest. A crack. A small crack in the wall I had built around myself. That night, I asked Adam, "Do you think I've changed?" He looked at me and said, "Of course you have. You're better now. Before you were weak. You didn't know how to be smart. Now you listen." His words stayed with me for days. I started looking at myself in the mirror longer. I saw the tired lines near my eyes, the way I moved carefully, like I didn't want to make noise. I used to be loud. I used to sing while cleaning. I didn't sing anymore. One Sunday morning, I told Adam, "I want to visit my mother." He frowned. "Why?" he asked. I said, "I just miss her." He said, "Fine, but don't stay too long. And don't let her fill your head with lies. My mother lived 1 hour away." I took the train. The trees outside were green and soft. I leaned my head on the window. It was the first time in months I was alone. When I saw my mother, she hugged me tight. She touched my hair and said, "Elena, you look thin. Are you eating enough?" I said yes, but I didn't look her in the eye. She cooked lunch. We sat and ate quietly. She looked at me and said, "Are you happy?" I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came. My hands shook. I looked down at my plate. My mother stood up and walked around the table. She put her arms around me. I felt like a child again. She whispered, "You don't have to say anything. I see it. I know." I cried in her arms. Not loud, just small tears, soft ones. The kind you cry when you are too tired to be strong. That day, I stayed longer than planned. I didn't text Adam right away. I just sat in the garden with my mother. We didn't talk much. We just sat. And I felt something I had not felt in a long time. I felt safe. Before I continue my story, I want to ask you something. Where are you listening from? Sometimes I wonder if someone out there really understands me. Just knowing you're here gives me strength. After visiting my mother, something inside me felt different. It was quiet, but real, like a small light in a very dark room. I didn't talk about it. I didn't even think about it too much, but the feeling stayed with me. When I came home that night, Adam was waiting in the living room. He didn't stand up. He didn't smile. He just looked at me. "You're late," he said. "I stayed longer with my mom," I answered. He looked at me the way someone looks at a broken thing. Not angry, just disappointed. "You should have told me. I waited. You always do this now." I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. He turned back to the TV and didn't speak again for the rest of the night. I lay in bed next to him. He slept easily. I stared at the ceiling. I remembered how my mother held my hand. She didn't ask too many questions. She just looked at me with eyes full of worry. I could feel her love, even in silence. The next morning, Adam acted as if nothing happened. He asked what I wanted for breakfast. He kissed my cheek. I smiled, but it didn't reach my heart. My body moved the way it always did, making coffee, folding clothes. But my thoughts were somewhere else. At work, my friend Mia came again. She looked at me for a long time before saying anything. Then she simply asked, "Are you okay?" I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just stood there, unsure of what I felt. Mia waited. Her eyes were kind, patient. That kindness made my throat tight. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know where to start. We went outside and sat on a bench near the flower shop. I told her that Adam cared a lot, that he always wanted to know where I was, who I talked to, what I was doing. I said it like a good thing. But even as I spoke, it didn't sound right. Mia didn't interrupt. When I finally stopped talking, she said, "Elena, caring isn't control. You know that, right?" I looked down at my hands. "I used to think love meant doing everything for the other person," I said. "Making them happy, keeping them calm, saying sorry even when I don't understand why." Mia was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That's not love, Elena. That's fear." Her words stayed with me. I went back to work, but I kept hearing her voice in my head. At home, things went on like usual. Adam would complain about the food. He would say I was being cold if I didn't want to sit close. He would call me selfish if I asked for time alone. But now, the things he said didn't just hurt. They confused me. I started to wonder, was I really selfish? Was I really cold? Or was I simply tired? One evening, I was late coming home. There was traffic, and I had stopped at the store. I walked through the door with 2 bags in my hands. Adam was on the sofa. He didn't look up. "You didn't answer your phone," he said. "I was driving," I replied. "I stopped at the store to get some things." He still didn't look at me. "You never think about how I feel. I wait here, wondering where you are. I try so hard, and you don't even care." I stood still for a moment. Then I walked into the kitchen. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't have the energy. I just put the groceries away in silence. Later that night, he touched my arm. He said, "You know, I only get upset because I love you." I didn't say anything. I didn't know how to answer that kind of love. A few days later, I found myself walking slower on my way home. I didn't want to enter the apartment. I passed by a cafe and sat down outside. I ordered tea. I watched people walk past. It was a normal evening, but for me, it felt like a breath of fresh air. When I finally went home, Adam didn't say anything about the time. He just asked what I had brought for dinner. I started to notice the silence between us. It wasn't peaceful. It was full of things unsaid. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't say I looked tired. He didn't see me. Not really. One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't look angry. I didn't look sad. I just looked gone, like someone who used to live inside me had quietly walked away. That day at work, Mia brought me lunch. We sat together and talked about normal things. But then she said something I didn't expect. "Elena, I miss the way you used to laugh." I looked at her. I wanted to laugh then, just to show her I still could. But the sound didn't come. That night, Adam was kind again. He brought home flowers, the same ones I work with all day. He cooked pasta. He said, "I feel like we haven't been close lately." I said, "Maybe we haven't." He looked surprised. "Well, let's fix that." We sat down to eat. He talked about work, about some neighbor who parked in the wrong spot. I listened and smiled when I needed to, but I didn't feel part of the room. I felt like a guest at someone else's table. When we went to bed, he reached for me. I turned slightly and said, "I'm tired." He pulled away quickly. "You always have an excuse," he muttered. I didn't answer. I closed my eyes. I thought about my mother's voice, about Mia's eyes, about the part of me that used to sing. And somewhere deep in that night, I realized something. I was still here, quiet, hidden, almost invisible, but still here. A week passed. Nothing changed, but something in me had. I still cleaned the apartment, made dinner, smiled when I needed to. But inside, I wasn't the same. I started waking up a little earlier, just to have 10 minutes alone. I would sit by the window with tea and look at the sky. I didn't think much. I just sat. And in those quiet moments, I felt a little stronger. One evening, Adam came home early. He said we should go out to eat. I didn't really want to, but I agreed. He picked a fancy restaurant. He liked places where people saw him as someone important. At dinner, he was in a good mood. He talked about his job, about someone who respected him. Then he looked at me and said, "I've done so much for you. You're lucky to have me." I looked at him and didn't smile. "I gave you a better life," he said. "You were nothing before me, just a quiet girl in a flower shop." I put my fork down. "I was happy in that flower shop," I said softly. His smile disappeared. "That's not what I meant," he said. "I mean, you've grown since being with me." I didn't answer. I didn't want to fight. I just sat there, feeling like I was seeing him clearly for the first time. On the way home, he walked ahead. He didn't wait for me like he used to. When we got to the apartment, he went straight to the bedroom. I stood in the kitchen, holding my purse, looking at the quiet walls. It felt like standing in a room that didn't belong to me anymore. Later that night, as I lay in bed beside him, I couldn't sleep. His breathing was calm. Mine was not. I thought about how much I had changed. Not in the way he believed, but in the way I had become smaller, quieter, afraid to speak, afraid to be wrong. I remembered the girl I used to be, the one who stayed after work to smell the roses, who sang while walking home, who dreamed of opening her own little shop. That girl had been gone for a long time, but I missed her. I missed her so much it hurt. The next day, I called my mother. I didn't tell her much. I just asked if I could visit for a few days. She said yes without any questions. I told Adam that I needed to help my mom with something. He didn't like it. "What is it this time?" he asked. "She's always pulling you away from me." "It's just for a few days," I said. "She's not feeling well," he sighed. "Fine, but don't forget where you belong." I packed a small bag. I didn't take much, just enough for a few days. As I closed the door behind me, I felt my heart beat faster. I wasn't running. I told myself that. I was just visiting. But deep down, I knew this was something more. When I reached my mother's house, she opened the door and hugged me tight. She didn't ask anything. She just said, "You look tired, sweetheart." I stayed in my old room. The bed was small, the blanket soft. I sat on the edge and looked around. My old books were still on the shelf. Pictures of me as a child. It was quiet, and for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. Over the next few days, I helped around the house, cooked simple meals, and went for walks with my mother. We talked about the weather, about neighbors, about her garden. We didn't talk about Adam, but she watched me closely, like she was waiting for me to open up. On the fourth day, we sat on the porch in the evening. The sun was setting, and the sky turned orange and pink. "I don't think he loves me," I said suddenly. My mother didn't answer. She just looked at me. "He says he does. But it doesn't feel like love," I continued. "It feels like I'm always afraid. Afraid to speak. Afraid to be wrong. Afraid to leave." She reached over and held my hand. "Then it's not love," she said quietly. I nodded. I knew it. I had known it for a long time. That night I couldn't sleep. I thought about going back, about the quiet apartment, about the cold dinners, about the words he said that made me feel small. I thought about how I always said sorry, even when I didn't know what I had done wrong. I realized I didn't want to go back. The next morning I told my mother, "I'm going to stay for a while." She nodded. "Take all the time you need." I sent Adam a message. I told him I was staying with my mother, that I needed space. He called me right away. I didn't answer. Then he sent a long text, blaming me, calling me ungrateful, saying I'd regret it. I read it once and put the phone down. I didn't reply. In the days that followed, he sent more messages. First angry, then sweet. He said he missed me, said I was his everything, that I was making a mistake. But by then, I could hear the pattern. I had heard it all before. It was a cycle, one that I didn't want to live in anymore. I started helping at a small shop near my mother's house. The woman who owned it needed someone for a few hours a day. I didn't earn much, but it felt good to be useful, to smile at customers, to arrange things with my own hands. One afternoon, Mia called. I hadn't spoken to her in weeks. She asked where I was. I told her everything. "I'm proud of you," she said. "I really am." I felt tears come to my eyes, but I smiled. "Thank you," I said. Months passed. Slowly, gently, I found pieces of myself again. I still thought about Adam sometimes, not with anger, but with understanding. He didn't love me the way I needed, and I stayed because I wanted to be loved so badly. I didn't see how much it was hurting me, but not anymore. Now, I wake up in the morning and open the window. I breathe in the fresh